What is happiness? This is the question that comes up over and over again. And ultimately, whatever we do in life, whether we're looking for that perfect or ideal partner, the ideal work, whatever it is that we are after, it's ultimately to get to that point of happiness, right? But how do you measure happiness? What needs to happen or not to happen for us to feel happy? And how does our intrusive thoughts sabotage us from actually feeling happy? Now, how do we measure happiness? What is happiness?
Well, it's a very interesting subject that often enough we just pass by it without paying attention to the details. There is a big difference between happiness, joy, and pleasure. We commonly use those three terminologies in the same context, and we assume that joy, happiness, pleasure, they're all the same thing. However, pleasure is the happiness or the contentness or the fulfillment that we get from external sources. So when we are seeking pleasure, that means that from money, from relationships, from food, from other things that is not within us, from external resources, we are getting some sort of a benefit, some sort of a fulfillment, and we commonly think that's making us happy. Meanwhile, the essence of our being is joy. We come, when we're born, we're a bundle of joy. We come from this space, unknown space in the universe, and once we're born as this joyful being, very soon enough, we start getting more protective of ourselves. The defenses come up. As an infant, we have the parents protect us. As we grow, we need to protect ourselves, and we don't allow these harmful things on the outside impact us. So guess what happens to our joy? The joy gets constricted, gets embodied into us, yet not being able to be expressive, not being able to just show that joyfulness on the context of outside, because we're so focused on getting something that we don't think we have. Meanwhile, what is happiness? That's the main question. Once all of those defense mechanisms, whatever that's creating those barriers between joy and the outside world is resolved, then I can feel happy. In other words, when I'm going back inside and we connect with my own joy without being afraid of the outside and what's going to happen to me, I'm able to create more happiness for myself and for others around me, because now my joy is shared with others. If I want to give you one easy example, imagine that food is a source of pleasure. I go to the best restaurant, order caviar and champagne, and I'm enjoying all of that. Meanwhile, that doesn't mean that I'm joyful. However, if I just sit with my loved one, somebody that I care for, on the side of a waterfall, and I just have a piece of a cheese and cracker with a cup of tea, that may give me even more joy than anything that could give me, a pleasure. So that joy is when I'm sharing something, when I'm in tune with myself in the presence of others without being protective and having those intrusive thoughts that you were talking about. Those intrusive thoughts are actually the problem. What gets between us showing our joy to the world and to the universe.
How beautifully you said it. So to recap, that pleasure that you're talking about, it's a temporary happiness that comes to us. But then if we are not feeling content from within, if I'm not mentally, emotionally, physically content with myself, then all of those little things, everything that I'm accumulating, is just temporary.
It's immediate gratification.
It's immediate gratification. And something else happens. The more I accumulate, the less I feel satisfied. The more I want to have some other shiny objects.
Because those worries and those concerns about protectiveness, they take over, and then we lose our concentration on how my joy is able to come out.
And something else that happens that I want to give example and expand on it is sometimes when we are feeling that joy, right? it feels like the mind is sabotaging us. We have a negative bias that by default, even when we are in the middle of feeling happy, the mind takes us to something or some event or in the future or sometimes even in the past that stops us from feeling that happiness.
Yeah.
It's like exactly like a sabotage.
Yeah, and it's, again, maybe we can call it those intrusive thoughts, because the moment that we are in that place of joyfulness, the doubts, the concerns, the ifs, the whats, are going to come in and infiltrate into our happiness, and that's when we lose that momentum of being happy.
Okay, so now, what are the steps that we need to take in order to feel that happiness, be in that happiness, embrace it, and truly enjoy the moment of the experience?
Let's go through the list.
We have 8 steps that if you do follow them, you'll definitely get benefits from it.
Well, the first one is your awareness. At any given situation, we need to be aware of what's going on. Awareness is like standing up on a mountain and looking down on everything. So when we're aware, now we're noticing what's going on in our mind. Every thought that comes, we need to be aware of it. We need to be considering everything that comes up. So that consideration and awareness is the first step to see if it's helpful to us or if it's not helpful to us.
Number 2, challenge the thought. So when the thought comes and you become aware of the negative thought, now ask the thought some questions. Is the thought helping me or hurting me? Is the thought moving me forward into what I want to achieve, or is keeping me stuck and stagnant? And if it's not helping you in any way, if it's actually hurting you more than it is helping you, then consciously shift the thought to something else. Thoughts are like clouds in the sky. They come and go. And we have a choice to choose which one we want to stay and which ones we want to let go, right? So we have that choice. The more energy we give to a negative thought, the more power it has over us. So awareness, challenging the thought, and consciously shifting the thought to something that gives you joy.
Which I want to add something here is that when we are reality testing the situation, our thoughts are going to be aligned more with what's going on, which takes me to the next step, which is being present.
Mindfulness, yes.
Once I realize what's going on and what thoughts are coming, now my mindfulness means that I'm present to whatever is going on. I have tested the reality of knowing exactly what the story is and how I'm going to process this information. And that requires one art of being in the moment, being in the right now, here and now. Here and now is one of the most important parts of our self-awareness within ourselves and also within the environment that we're in.
Absolutely. This moment right now, it's the only moment that matters. There is nothing that we can do about the past or change it or write a different narrative. We cannot do that. And the future is uncertain. So the only moment that matters is actually right this second, right here, right now.
That's right.
Now, the next step is practicing gratitude. The mind can shift from one thought to another, but it cannot hold 2 thoughts simultaneously at the same time. So the more we focus our attention to what we have, to what we are grateful for, the more of that is presented to us by our subconscious mind. And the more we think about the good things, the things that we have, the less we think about the lack and the things that we don't have.
Okay.
So focus your attention on what it is that you have and what are you grateful right now.
Well, I'm very grateful with good people around me. That's the next point. We would like to have people around us with positive energy. Some people who are thinking in a direction that takes us towards that joy. People who are consistently in doubt or negative or trying to find problems. Those people drain us and they bring our energy down. And that's why we need to surround ourselves with people who are positively thinking, acting, and supporting their community, supporting, the world around us. That's an asset that everybody needs to focus on.
Beautifully said. And I want to just add a little bit that some people, even people that we love, people that are close to us, I like to call them energy vampires. Sometimes they drain your energy. And sometimes it's not easy to get away from these people. There are occasions that we need to interact with them. So this is important for you to set boundaries. Every time that you feel your energy is being drained, someone is just dumping negativity on you, it's your responsibility to say, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to have this conversation right now, and shift or switch the topic to something that you like to have a conversation about.
Great.
Now, the next one is positive affirmations. A lot of times that nagging sound, the voice that comes out of nowhere and says, you're not good enough, you're not capable, you're too old, you're too young, you're too thin, you're too fat, whatever it is, that voice that stops us from moving forward. The way to counter-attack that negative thought or voice is to give yourself positive affirmations.
It's like your parents giving you some sort of affirmation.
Praise,
so
yes.
if there is a child inside of us that is nagging and it's kind of making those problems for us, then that parental part of us needs to give those affirmations.
Yeah. Don't wait for other people to give you praises or to acknowledge you. Acknowledge yourself. I am capable. I am enough. I am worthy. I am deserving. Keep repeating these sentences to yourself, and the subconscious starts to believe it.
Well, the next one is our self-care, because at the foundation of our health, our balancing the wheel, the way that we show up in life, the foundation is your food, your sleep, your exercise, and your sex life. If you're not taking care of yourself on these 4 aspects of life that are underlying everything you do, then you're going to be missing something. You're going to be less prepared to take on what's coming around, and then it makes you more vulnerable or weaker towards the effects that are around you. So in order to minimize the impact of the problems outside of us, we need to be strong, we need to be sustained, we need to be present to the physicality of our being, which is our self-care.
Beautiful. And the last step is, if nothing else that we talked about works, and you still feel that these intrusive thoughts are stopping you from feeling that happiness and ultimately that innate joy within you, seek help. There is no taboo about getting help and getting support and being heard from a third-person view.
A professional.
A professional. Lovingly, compassionately guiding you, giving you tools to be able to live a life that you deserve.
Well said.
To your happiness.
Yes.
We'll talk to you soon.
And your inner joy.